Tonight on this edition of UMTV News, tensions continue to escalate around the globe as Russia enters separatist-held areas in Ukraine. We'll have more on what the U.S. is doing to avert a crisis.
Plus, recreational sports at UM can be a big part of students' lives, but maybe not the way you think. We will tell you how big the impact actually is.
And later on, people who are getting artsy in Coral Gables will have full coverage of the 2022 Coconut Grove Arts Festival.
Those stories and a lot more are coming up on tonight's edition of UMTV News.
It starts right now. Welcome to UMTV News. I'm Jackson Dill.
And I am Nicole Brites. Thank you for joining us. The ban on abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy is one step closer to becoming a law in Florida, and not all residents are happy. The fight for the right to choose continues today in Tallahassee. Lawmakers debated for more than 5 hours on what would be the state's most restrictive abortion law since Roe v. Wade in 1973. More than 500 activists gathered at the state's capitol to express disapproval on this law. The protesters held up signs reading a variety of messages, including "My body, my choice," "I don't care what the Bible says," "Keep abortion legal," and more. Many residents are angry that the measure has no exception for rape, incest, coercion, or mental health.
U.S. President Joe Biden has addressed the nation earlier this afternoon as tensions continue to escalate in Ukraine. Since December of last year, thousands of Russian troops near the eastern border of Ukraine stand the stage of an invasion of the land. U.S. intelligence and satellite images reveal Russia going full speed ahead with military preps.
Today might be that day, and we hope that's not the case, which is why we continue to exhaust every possible diplomatic option here going forward.
In a TV broadcast, Russian President Vladimir Putin accusing the West of threats. The Russian president says he is officially recognizing the separatist regions in Ukraine as independent states. Putin airing his grievances about the breakup of the former Soviet republics.
Modern Ukraine from the beginning and in its totality has been created by Russia.
The U.S. and allies warn every indication shows Russia is preparing to invade.
These are not the actions of the Russian government fulfilling its repeated declarations that it has no intention of invading Ukraine.
The U.S. also says it has credible information about a Russian kill list, writing in a letter to the United Nations that Russia is identifying Ukrainians to be killed or sent to camps. The Kremlin denying the claim, calling it absolute fiction.
We believe that any military operation of the size, scope, and magnitude of what we believe the Russians are planning will be extremely violent. It will cost the lives of Ukrainians and Russians, civilians and military personnel alike.
The Russian escalation at the front lines is at odds with what Putin is saying publicly. Putin now agreeing to a summit with President Joe Biden.
He can do the right thing by finding a diplomatic path forward.
Biden accepting on the condition Russia not invade Ukraine. Now, in response to Putin's recognition of two pro-Moscow Ukrainian territories, President Biden has imposed new sanctions. The president says the executive order would prohibit new investment, trade, and finance by Americans to, from, or in those regions of Ukraine. As a result, oil prices are going up, meaning higher prices at the pump are likely ahead. The U.S. is set to announce additional measures following Putin's move.
A jury has found the 3 white men who killed Ahmaud Arbery guilty on federal hate crime charge. The verdict backs the prosecutor's case that the men chased the 25-year-old through the streets of neighborhood because he was black. Our reporter Erica Jones has the details of the conclusion of the federal trial.
Justice for Ahmaud Arbery! Justice for Ahmaud Arbery!
On the eve of the second anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery's death, the 3 white men who killed him were found guilty on all counts in a federal hate crimes trial.
I, as a mom, will never heal.
Tuesday, Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and William Roddy Bryan were convicted of interference of rights, a federal hate crime, and attempted kidnapping. The McMichaels were also found guilty of an additional firearms charge for using and carrying a firearm during a crime of violence.
They gave us a sense of sense of a small victory. But we as a family will never get victory because Ahmaud is gone forever.
The jury found that the men attempted to chase Arbery and attempted to unlawfully confine him using their trucks as he jogged through their neighborhood outside Brunswick, Georgia in February 2020. Arbery's mother relieved by the verdicts after the judge rejected an earlier plea deal agreed to by the prosecutors.
They didn't have a son that was lying in a cold grave.
All right, come on.
And they still didn't hear my cry.
All three men could now receive sentences of up to life in prison and heavy fines for the federal convictions. They're currently serving life sentences after being previously convicted of murdering Arbery in a separate state trial, although they have said they plan to appeal.
No one should fear that if they go out for a run, they will be targeted and killed because of the color of their skin.
That was reporter Erica Jones reporting. 2 people have been hospitalized after a helicopter crashed in the ocean near Miami Beach Saturday afternoon. Miami Beach Police has released a video of the incident. It shows the Robinson R-44 chopper going down near swimmers. 3 people were on board the helicopter at the time of the crash, but 1 person did not sustain injuries. While 2 helicopter occupants were injured, there were no reports of any harm to beachgoers.
There was several people and bystanders in the water at the time, and our first initial lifeguard went in the water to try to assist. And the bystanders all rushed the helicopter also to try to help with whatever situation we had. It took us a little bit to figure out how big of an aircraft we were dealing with or how many people were in the aircraft at the time.
Authorities have closed off a portion of the shoreline for safety reasons and to preserve the accident scene. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board will investigate.
It took 3 years, but the world's largest cruise ship is finally ready to welcome all passengers on board. Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Seas is expected to leave from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to the Caribbean for its maiden voyage next month. The nearly 1,200-foot ship can hold over 6,900 guests and 2,300 crew members. They will get to enjoy 18 decks that feature activities like a 10-deck high zip line, a poolside movie screen, and what is known as the tallest slide at sea. The voyage from Florida begins on March 4th. The ship will then head to Barcelona and Rome for the launch of its Western Mediterranean cruises in May. We will take a short break now, but when UMTV News returns, we will take you to the University of Miami's IM Fields, where UM students are lacing up for another chance at their favorite sports.
And later on, we will tell you about how UM students helped with one restoration project. Details after a short break. Don't go away.
What to expect when you're expecting
like here.
A teenager.
Today, I'm going to show you how to teen-proof your home. First step, hide the car keys, preferably somewhere they would never look. Challenges will come up. Be ready for them. Hi, honey.
Ready for the... Mom, you don't use mannequins in the mannequin challenge.
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Thanks for staying with us. Things got heated after the Michigan-Wisconsin's basketball game on Sunday. This brawl was started by an interaction between head coaches. The University of Michigan's head coach Juwan Howard threw a punch at one member of the Wisconsin's Badger coaching staff. That happened during the post-game handshake line between players and coaches.
In the line. Interesting finish here, 77. Oh, see, and they're going at it. Oh, yeah. Howard and Guard are not happy right now as the two of them continue to have words. We told you Juwan Howard was not happy about that timeout. And Juwan Howard just threw a right hand. And now we got a scrum. We have a scrum.
Post-punch, a brawl broke out among both teams' players. Howard will be suspended for 5 games and fined $40,000.
The transition from high school to college can bring people challenges, excitement, and a lot of unknowns. We have our reporter Caroline McDonald live, and she found out how at the University of Miami students don't have to leave their love for sports at home. Caroline?
Thanks, guys. Almost all student athletes have to hang up the jersey or give up the cleats for the sport that they once loved to play. Now, what happens to those student athletes that don't make it to the collegiate level? Well, I got the chance to find out how some UM students are finding their way back to the quarter field. For most high school athletes, there will come a time where the sport that they love and have played since elementary school comes to an end. According to Varsity Sports, only 7% of high school athletes move on and play sports at the collegiate level. However, no one really talks about the transitional period for the other 93%.
I see a lot of people struggling with it, a lot of kids struggling with it. I think that, one, it's changing their sense of identity. Two, they feel a lack of purpose that I think that the sport provided for them. And I think that that can be really, really difficult.
One way student athletes make these challenges less hard to face: participating in recreational and intramural sports.
It can provide the sense of team that they had, the competitiveness, the drive, a little bit of the purpose. It can just help ease the transition.
The University of Miami Rec and IM program offer over 40 different sports, so athletes can get another chance on the field.
I mean, a lot of us came playing high school soccer, and then coming in, we're not playing club or anything. And to find these group of guys over here and be playing with them, it's nice to find that companionship again with sports.
It definitely means a lot, especially growing up playing the game so much, almost 7 days a week, my whole life. It means a lot to still be able to play here, have fun with a bunch of my friends.
The development and competitiveness of the IM sports program has not gone unnoticed by UM student athletes and has become something they love about UMiami.
I definitely think that's a very important part, especially young athletes, being able to almost give up the dream, but still be able to partake in the sport they've played their whole life.
If you're interested in joining UM-IM teams, you can sign up for 5v5 full court basketball or 2v2 sand volleyball by Thursday, February 24th at imleagues.com/Miami. For UMTV, I'm Caroline McDonald.
Thanks, Caroline. The University of Miami and the grassroots nonprofit Tropical Audubon Society have partnered for a volunteer workday at South Florida's disappearing Pine Rockland on Saturday. The Pinelands once covered some 200,000 acres in Miami-Dade County. Now less than 2% of the forest remains within the county and outside the protective border of Everglades National Park. The Pinelands are part of the Everglades ecosystem, a hotspot for plant biodiversity and home to several federally listed endangered species. They're also an important habitat for birds and wildlife.
So being the Audubon Society, we need to do what we can to make sure that the birds have a little hotel, Airbnb to stay in during their migrations and year-round.
UM students and other volunteers help preserve the endangered habitat by removing invasive plants, vines, and non-native trees threatening the native landscape.
It's now time for another break, but coming up, our UMTV reporters Izzy Nakash and Lauren Cruz Del Val will take us to the Coconut Grove Arts Festival.
And we celebrate today's special date with National Cocktail. UMTV News will be right back.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
After 1 year of hiatus because of COVID, the popular Coconut Grove Arts Festival was back in person over the weekend.
And hundreds of vendors lined up under the sun to sell their art, food, and more. Two of our reporters, Lauren Cruz Del Valle and Izzy Nakash, went to the festival over the weekend and are joining us now live to tell us more. Lauren and Izzy, how was it?
Thanks, guys. The festival was a lot of fun. Around 50,000 people came to enjoy the art, food, and music.
It was packed, and I got the chance to speak to one artist who creates unique glass sculptures.
Brian Murphy from Newport News, Virginia, has been a regular vendor at the Coconut Grove Arts Festival for about 14 years.
It's not about the number of sales, it's really more about the quality of sales and the size of the work and so on to determine if it's a good show or not. But yeah, generally speaking, Coconut Grove and most of the South Florida and Southwest Florida shows have really been very good for me over the years. It's a good market for me.
Murphy is one of 360 artists who were happy to showcase their work again in person following the festival's cancellation last year.
COVID stopped the show from last year, and we're just kind of getting back to, a normal, quote-unquote, schedule of shows. So yeah, it's really great to be back.
And he's not the only one that feels that way.
My first time at Coconut Grove was 2020, and it was a great show. We had a really good time, and we sold a lot of art, so that was awesome. And then March of 2020 came, and that's when everything shut down, and all of the art world this type of stuff was all stopped. It went virtual, and it's really hard to sell art virtually.
Despite COVID-19 troubles, artists and festival goers agree that it's great to be back.
I've been going to the Coconut Grove Arts Festival since I was probably about 4 years old, so I'm pretty excited that we're gonna be able to continue going now that it's back on because of COVID.
I've been coming to the Coconut Grove Arts Festival since I was in high school, so probably 10 years now. I think it's really beautiful, especially after COVID, that we get to be outside again and enjoying what we like.
Nathan Curlin, chair of the executive committee, was tasked with the handling of the 2021 festival during COVID.
We've got 3 days of the most beautiful weather in the world. And to give you a little history, my term as chair of the Coconut Grove Festival began a year ago. And my first duty as chair of the festival was to cancel the show. And it was not an easy decision. In fact, it broke the heart of a lot of us who wanted to keep the tradition of 57 years going, because right honestly, there aren't that many things in Miami that are 57 years old.
The festival attracted young and old people alike to marvel at the art this past weekend.
The Coconut Grove Arts Festival has brought thousands of people to McFarland Street for more than 50 years. The festival celebrates breathtaking artwork from 270 artists worldwide. Visitors can enjoy a variety of delicious foods such as arepas, frozen lemonade, and handcrafted churros. Art Festival President Monty Traynor, known as the Grove Father, believes the power of an art festival can connect and bring people together.
The Coconut Grove Arts Festival, as you can tell, is one of the biggest occasions in Coconut Grove or South Florida. I think we rate above the boat show and everybody else, but we have a strictly juried art festival.
John Dennis, a Miami-based artist, is attending the festival for his first time.
So I actually came up with the medium and I titled it Slow Fusion Glass. And I use basically a plaster, I carve in plaster with chisels and grinders initially. I use that as a template, put it horizontal. I laid crushed glass on there, torch it to 800, let it cool, do optical acrylic over that, then release it.
Buyers are able to speak with artists directly and learn more about their mediums. Although this 3-day festival only takes place once a year, visitors look forward to the art, festivities, and sense of community that the Grove brings. Next year's Coconut Grove Arts Festival is set to be on President's Day weekend in 2023. I'm Azina Kosh reporting for UMTV.
And if you... I can't read anything there. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And when it gives you limes, make a margarita. Perfect saying for February 22nd, because it's National Margarita Day. A key ingredient of the tequila-based cocktails is freshly squeezed lime juice. The adult beverage also features triple sec and comes in a glass with a salted rim. According to the National Day calendar, it is known as the most common tequila-based drink served in the U.S. No one knows who first created it. Myths on its origins go back as far as 1938, but margaritas definitely received a boost in popularity with the release of Jimmy Buffett's 1977 hit song Margaritaville.
Wow, I guess I'm going to have a margarita after the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'll see you there. And that's all the time we have for this edition of UMTV News. Thank you for joining us.
Tune in again at the same time next week. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.